Close your eyes. Settle in. Tonight, we're going somewhere familiar, somewhere inside the maze of your own mind. These are the thoughts that visit when the world goes quiet, when your brain finally has permission to wander wherever it wants. So let it wander. Let it drift. You know that feeling when you walk into a room and forget why you went in there. Your body arrived, but your mind stayed behind, still thinking about something else entirely. For a second, you're standing in a doorway, like a character whose script just got rewritten mid-scene. Every person you've ever made eye contact with remembers you differently than you remember yourself. You exist as a slightly different character in thousands of other people's stories, and you'll never read most of those versions. The inside of your mouth is made of the same kind of cells as the inside of your cheeks. But you never think about it, because your tongue is just always in there, sitting in the dark, tasting everything, pressing against your teeth like it's waiting for instructions. When you yawn, you're basically just rebooting your face. Your brain sends this big stretch command, and your whole skull participates. And then someone across the room sees you do it, and their brain copies the file without asking. Think about this. You have never seen your own face in person. You've only ever seen reflections and photographs. The face you think of as yours is actually a reversed image, or a frozen moment captured by a lens. Everyone else sees the real version. You never will. Dogs have no idea that we name them. Your dog doesn't know it's called Biscuit. It just knows that when you make a certain sound, attention is about to happen. The name is entirely for your benefit. The dog is just vibing. Somewhere in the world right now, two strangers are about to meet for the first time. And one of them will eventually become the most important person in the other's life. But right now, they're just two people who have no idea the other exists. When you're in a car at night and you look out the window, your reflection is floating out there in the darkness, keeping pace with you, like a ghost version of yourself, running alongside the vehicle, copying your every movement, and you just accept it. Every single decision you've ever made has led to this exact moment. Every left turn, every hesitation, every time you chose to stay 5 more minutes. The math of your life is impossibly complex, and yet here you are, lying exactly where you are, thinking exactly this thought. The ocean is basically a soup that's been cooking for 4 billion years. It's got salt, minerals, organic matter, and countless organisms all simmering together. Earth made a soup, and then things started living in it. And we swim in this ancient soup for fun. You were the youngest person alive for a brief moment when you were born. For one fraction of a second, nobody on Earth was newer than you. Then someone else was born and took the title. Your reign was measured in heartbeats. Languages are just sounds we all agreed mean something. At some point in history, some group of humans decided that a particular vibration of air coming out of a mouth would represent an object, a feeling, or an idea. And everyone just went along with it. The whole system runs on collective trust. Technically, you're not touching anything right now. The atoms in your body and the atoms of whatever surface you're resting on are repelling each other with electromagnetic force. You're hovering, right now, on a cushion of invisible force. You've never actually touched anything in your life. The voice in your head that's listening to these words right now, that's you. But who's doing the listening if you're the one generating the inner voice, and also the one hearing it? then there are at least two versions of you working together right now. Who's in charge? Every time you remember something, your brain is essentially rewriting the file. It pulls up the memory, edits it slightly, based on your current mood and context, and saves the new version. So the memory you have of your 10th birthday is not the original recording. It's been through dozens of revisions. You're remembering a memory of a memory. Somewhere deep in your body, right now, cells are dividing. They're copying your DNA and building new versions of themselves. And they've been doing this since before you were born. Your body is a construction site that never closes. There's always a night shift working. When you think about it, a cemetery is just a really crowded place where everybody is being extremely quiet at the same time. All those lives, all those stories, all that noise and laughter and arguing, now perfectly still, side by side. The most peaceful neighborhood in town. You have survived every single bad day you've ever had. Every moment that felt like the end. Every time you thought you couldn't handle it, you got through it. Your track record for surviving the worst days of your life is 100%. That's worth thinking about. The stars you see at night are not where they appear to be. The light took so long to reach you that the star has already moved. You're looking at the past, scattered across the sky like old photographs pinned to a dark wall. The night sky is a museum, and you don't even need a ticket. Try to imagine a new color. Not a shade of a color you already know. A completely new one. Your brain physically cannot do it. It's like trying to think outside the boundaries of your own hardware. Some limits are built into the system. Every person on Earth is carrying around a skeleton inside them right now. You are not separate from your skeleton. You are the skeleton. The rest is just the meat and water that the skeleton is wearing as a disguise, to blend in with other skeletons who are also in disguise. Water doesn't have a taste, but you can definitely taste water. So what are you tasting? You're tasting the absence of everything else. Your tongue knows what nothing tastes like, and that nothing has a flavor. If you could somehow fold a piece of paper in half 50 times, it would reach the sun. Exponential growth is that powerful. Every fold doubles the thickness. After 42 folds, you'd reach the moon. 8 more, and you're at the sun. The math doesn't care that it sounds impossible. Your future self is watching you right now through memories. Whatever you're doing, however you're feeling, a version of you years from now will think back to this moment. You're performing for an audience that doesn't exist yet. The fact that we dream is still not fully understood. Every night, your brain creates a private movie, screening just for you, starring you, directed by your subconscious. And the plot rarely makes sense. But you sit through the whole thing anyway. You don't even get popcorn. The line between soup and cereal is blurrier than you'd think. Both are chunks of something floating in a liquid inside a bowl. The only real difference is temperature and social expectation. Nobody wants to admit that breakfast cereal is basically cold soup. Think about how many ancestors had to survive, fight, flee, and find each other across thousands of years just so you could exist. Every single link in that chain had to hold. If even one of them had turned left instead of right on some random Tuesday in the year 800, you simply wouldn't be here. The odds of you existing are essentially zero. And yet, here you are. Right now, there is a place on Earth where it's a perfect sunny afternoon. And there's another place where it's the middle of the night. The planet is always holding both at the same time. Somewhere it's always morning. Somewhere it's always midnight. The Earth is every time at once. When you close your eyes and picture an apple, where is that apple? It's not in front of you. It's not behind your eyes. It exists in a space that has no physical location. Your imagination has its own dimension that exists nowhere and everywhere at the same time. Think about this. You've already lived through moments that you'll eventually call the good old days. You just don't know which ones yet. The ordinary stuff you did last week might be the thing you miss the most 20 years from now. A sunset is really just the earth turning away from the sun. It's not the sun setting at all. The sun is perfectly still. It's us who are moving. We named it wrong, and nobody bothered to fix it because it sounds more poetic this way. Every conversation you've ever had only exists in the memories of the people who were there. There's no recording, no transcript, no backup file. When those people forget, the conversation ceases to exist entirely. Most of the words you've ever spoken have already vanished from the universe. Your brain uses about 20 watts of power. That's less than a dim light bulb. With that tiny amount of energy, it's running your entire consciousness, your memories, your personality, your sense of self, everything that makes you who you are. A refrigerator uses more electricity than your identity does. When you're asleep, you're essentially offline. Your consciousness shuts down. Your body goes into maintenance mode. And you lie there, motionless, for hours. And this is considered completely normal. If your computer did this every night for 8 hours, you'd think something was wrong with it. Think about the concept of a year. The Earth goes all the way around the Sun, traveling about 584 million miles through space. And at the end of that journey, you're supposed to have accomplished something meaningful. That's a lot of pressure from an orbit. The bottom of your foot has never seen sunlight unless you've specifically shown it. There are parts of your body that live in permanent darkness, and they're perfectly fine with it. Your armpit has never experienced a direct sunset. Somewhere in the world right now, a kid is looking up at the moon for the first time and having their mind completely blown. And someone else is looking at the same moon and not even noticing it because they've seen it 1,000 times. Same moon, completely different experience, based on how many times you've already looked. Every mirror you've ever looked into has a slightly different version of you in it. Different lighting, different angle, different time of day. You've never seen the exact same reflection twice. Every encounter with a mirror is technically a first meeting. Your body replaces almost all of its cells over the course of about 7 to 10 years. That means the version of you that existed a decade ago is physically gone. Every atom has been swapped out. You're a completely different collection of matter, having the same memories and calling itself the same name. Think about the word nothing. We invented a word for the absence of anything. We named the void. We gave emptiness a label so we could talk about it. Language is so determined to describe everything that it even describes the lack of everything. When you hear a song you loved as a teenager, the feelings that come flooding back are not new feelings. They're archived feelings that your brain kept in storage, attached to that specific pattern of sound waves. Music is basically a zip file for emotions. Every building you've ever been inside was once just an idea in someone's head. Someone imagined it, drew it, calculated whether it would stand up, and then other people spent months or years turning that thought into a physical structure you could walk through. Architecture is just organized dreaming. If aliens ever visit Earth, the first thing they'd probably notice is that the dominant species spends about 1/3 of its existence unconscious and horizontal. They build special padded platforms for this purpose, and get upset if the unconscious period is interrupted. Right now, as you lie here, the Earth is spinning at about 1,000 miles per hour. It's also orbiting the Sun at 67,000 miles per hour, and the entire solar system is hurtling through the galaxy at over 500,000 miles per hour. You're motionless and also moving impossibly fast at the same time. Laughing is such a weird physical response when you think about it. Something enters your brain as information, gets processed as humor, and your body responds by making repetitive sounds and shaking. Some people cry when they laugh hard enough. The human body has no idea how to handle comedy. The oldest living trees on Earth have been alive for over 5,000 years. They were seedlings when humans were inventing writing. They've stood in the same spot through the rise and fall of every civilization we know about, and they have no idea. They're just trees doing tree stuff. There's a certain age when you stop getting older and start getting old. Nobody can tell you when it happens because it's different for everyone. One day, you just realize that the thing you're nostalgic for happened 20 years ago, and not 5. When you really think about it, cooking is just applying energy to molecules until they rearrange into something tastier. You're doing chemistry in the kitchen. Every meal is a science experiment with the hypothesis that it'll taste good. You know how sometimes you'll think of a word and then suddenly you see it everywhere? That's your brain's filtering system, adjusting in real time. The word was always there. You just weren't tuned to the right frequency. Attention is a spotlight, and you can only point it in one direction at a time. Every photograph ever taken is now a picture of the past. The moment you press the shutter button, it's already gone. Photography doesn't capture the present. It creates evidence that the present existed, briefly, before it became the past. Think about silence. True silence doesn't exist for most people. Your ears are always picking up something. Blood flowing, electrical hum, distant traffic, your own breathing. The brain is never truly quiet. Even when everything around you stops, there's still a signal. Rain is just the ocean visiting the land. Water evaporates, rises, forms clouds, travels across the sky, and falls somewhere else. It's been the same water cycling around for billions of years. The rain that hits your window might have once been part of a dinosaur's drinking pond. You can't hum while holding your nose. You just tried that, didn't you? Your brain read the instruction, and your body immediately wanted to verify. You and your brain don't always consult each other before doing things. The internet is essentially humanity's collective memory stored in machines. Every thought someone typed, every photo someone uploaded, every argument someone had in a comment section is preserved on servers somewhere. We built a digital fossil record, and we're filling it faster than we can organize it. At some point in your childhood, you and your best friend went outside to play together for the last time, and neither of you knew it was the last time. There was no ceremony, no goodbye. You both just went home that day, and the era ended without announcement. Your teeth are the only part of your skeleton that you can see. They're right there, behind your lips, on display whenever you smile. You're showing people your bones every time you laugh. Nobody finds that strange. Every time you eat something, you're essentially converting matter from the outside world into fuel for your consciousness. An apple becomes thought energy. A sandwich becomes a memory. You're a machine that turns food into ideas. The fact that we need to sleep but don't fully understand why is genuinely unsettling if you sit with it long enough. It's like discovering that a feature of your operating system is still labeled purpose unknown in the manual. When you read a book, You're literally hearing a dead person's thoughts in your head, or a living person's thoughts, transmitted through symbols on a page, decoded by your eyes, reconstructed into inner speech, and experienced as if someone is talking to you. Reading is telepathy with a time delay. There's a version of you that exists only in other people's dreams. Someone you met briefly at a party 3 years ago might have dreamed about you last week. You showed up in their unconscious mind as a background character, and you have absolutely no idea. Think about the fact that your heart has been beating since before you were born. It started on its own, figured out the rhythm on its own, and it's been going non-stop ever since. You've never had to think about it. It just does it. Your most critical organ operates on complete autopilot. Every language has words that don't translate. There are feelings and concepts that one culture named and another never did. Some emotions only exist if you grew up speaking a certain language. Your mother tongue shapes the borders of what you can feel. Glaciers are just really slow rivers. They move inches per day, carving valleys and reshaping mountains over thousands of years. If you could speed up time, they'd look like water flowing downhill. They're just doing it on a geological timescale, where patience is measured in centuries. Think about how trust works. You drive on a highway at 70 miles per hour, separated from oncoming traffic by nothing but a painted line and the assumption that strangers will stay on their side. Society runs on the belief that other people will follow the same rules you're following. Your brain named itself. Think about that. The brain is the organ that came up with the word brain to describe itself. It also decided it was the most important organ, which is exactly what you'd expect a brain to say. You've probably walked past at least one person who was having the best day of their life and didn't know it, and also someone having the worst. Everyone's carrying a completely different emotional weather system inside them. The sidewalk is full of invisible storms and sunshine. The moon has no light of its own. Everything you see when you look at the moon is reflected sunlight. The moon is basically the world's biggest nightlight, and it runs entirely on borrowed energy. Even the most romantic moonlit evening is technically just second-hand sun. If you could compress the entire history of Earth into a single 24-hour day, humans would show up at about 11:59 p.m. We've been here for 1 minute of a very long day, and we've spent most of that minute arguing about things that don't matter. Have you ever thought about the fact that your body knows how to heal a wound, but you don't? If you cut your finger, you have no idea how to fix it, but your body immediately deploys the right cells, creates a clot, fights infection, and builds new skin. You're the CEO of a company, and you have no idea how any of the departments work. There's a word for the smell of rain on dry earth. It's called petrichor. Someone noticed that scent, thought it was important enough to name, and now you can reference a very specific moment of weather with a single word. Language is wild. Every night, millions of people around the world are lying in bed, in the dark, thinking thoughts just like these. Right now, at this exact second, you're part of a silent global community of late-night thinkers, and you don't even know each other. Think about how weird it is that we accept the idea of an alarm clock. We literally named a device whose purpose is to shock you out of unconsciousness. The name tells you exactly what it does, and we still voluntarily place it next to our sleeping heads. A tree is basically a very slow explosion. It takes a seed, and over decades, it converts sunlight and carbon dioxide into wood, expanding outward and upward in extreme slow motion. If you sped up a tree's life to 30 seconds, it would look like a firework made of leaves. You have a unique pattern of wrinkles on your fingers that no other human has ever had or will ever have. Your fingerprint is your body's serial number, written in skin, and it was assigned before you were born. Think about nostalgia. It's a feeling of happiness and sadness at the same time. Happy because it happened, sad because it's over. Your brain created an emotion specifically for processing time. We feel the passage of years as a bittersweet ache in our chest. The Wi-Fi signal passing through your room right now is carrying millions of conversations, images, and videos all at once, moving through the air invisibly, passing through your body without you noticing. You're being penetrated by information 24 hours a day. When you're in a crowd, you're the background character in everyone else's main story. You're the stranger that someone glanced at, the person who held the door, the face in someone else's photograph that they'll never look at closely. The concept of tomorrow is technically imaginary. It doesn't exist yet. The only thing that actually exists is right now. Tomorrow is just a prediction that your brain treats as a certainty. You plan for something that hasn't happened yet with total confidence that it will. Right now, your immune system is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Cells in your body are identifying threats, coordinating responses, destroying invaders, and cleaning up the mess. There's a whole war going on inside you, and you don't even get status updates. Think about how weird money is. It's usually just numbers on a screen now, not even paper, just an agreed-upon concept stored in databases. You trade hours of your life for adjustments to a number that only has value, because everyone pretends it does. The entire economy is an act of collective imagination. Birds can see the Earth's magnetic field. They have a sense that humans don't even have a word for. They navigate the planet using information that's completely invisible and incomprehensible to us. We live in the same world, but they're playing with extra settings unlocked. The deepest part of the ocean is deeper than the tallest mountain is tall. Mount Everest could fit inside the Mariana Trench with room to spare. The Earth has more extreme geography going down than going up. We just don't see it because it's covered in water. When you make a decision, your brain actually decides before you're consciously aware of it. Studies show that brain activity related to a choice begins before the person reports being aware of the choice. You're not choosing. You're being notified of a choice that was already made. Every night when you dream, you're creating entire worlds, complete with physics, characters, and storylines, all in real time, with no budget and no planning. You are the most prolific filmmaker who ever lived, and you forget most of your work by morning. The light hitting your eyes right now has traveled from wherever it originated, bounced off surfaces, been filtered and refracted, all to arrive at two tiny openings in your skull, where it gets converted into electrical signals that your brain interprets as vision. Seeing is ridiculously complicated, and you do it without trying. Consider the fact that outer space is only about 62 miles above you. If you could drive straight up at highway speed, you'd be in space in about an hour. The atmosphere is basically just a thin shell. We're much closer to the void than we think. Somewhere in the universe, a star is being born right now. Gas and dust are collapsing under gravity. Temperatures are rising, and nuclear fusion is about to ignite for the first time. A new sun is turning on, and in another part of the universe, a star is dying at the same time. The universe is simultaneously a nursery and a graveyard. Your bones are stronger than concrete, but lighter than steel. They can heal themselves, grow with you, and store minerals for later use. Your skeleton is the most advanced structural material on Earth, and it grew itself from a single cell. Think about the fact that we've only explored about 5% of the ocean floor. There's an entire world down there that we've barely looked at. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the bottom of our own ocean. The great unknown isn't above us. It's below us. Every song you've ever loved was written by someone who was probably just sitting around one day and happened to arrange sounds in an order that would eventually make a stranger feel something profound. Music is organized air vibrations that can make you cry. That's not rational. That's magic. You've already forgotten most of your life. The vast majority of your days are gone. Not just the details, but the days themselves. Entire weeks from 5 years ago that you couldn't recall even if you tried. Your life is mostly made of moments that didn't make the cut for long-term storage. The color you see as red might look completely different to someone else, and neither of you would ever know. You both call it red. You both stop at red lights, but the actual visual experience could be entirely different. Language creates the illusion of shared perception. Every atom in your body is billions of years old. The hydrogen was formed in the Big Bang. The carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen were forged inside dying stars. You are literally made of stardust that spent billions of years cycling through the universe before becoming you. You're not in the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself. Think about how waiting works. When you're waiting for something good, time moves slowly. When you're dreading something, time speeds up. Your perception of time is completely unreliable and entirely dependent on how you feel. The clock doesn't change. Your brain does. A single bolt of lightning contains enough energy to toast about 100,000 slices of bread. Nature creates massive surges of electricity on a regular basis, and we just accept it as weather. The sky shoots energy beams at the ground, and we check if we need an umbrella. You know that feeling when a song comes on, and it takes you right back to a specific moment in your life. That's because music and memory use some of the same brain pathways. Songs are bookmarks in the story of your life. Press play, and the chapter opens. Right now, you are the oldest you have ever been. And at the same time, you are the youngest you will ever be again. This moment is the exact middle point between your entire past and your entire future. You're standing on the edge of everything that hasn't happened yet. Think about laughter. No other species does it quite the way we do. Something strikes us as funny, and we involuntarily produce this rhythmic sound, often contagious, sometimes uncontrollable, occasionally so intense that we can't breathe. Evolution created a feature for amusement and gave it no off switch. Every road you've ever driven on was built by someone who decided that 2 points needed to be connected. Someone looked at the landscape, drew a line, and said, let's make it possible to get from here to there. Every road is a frozen decision, a physical argument that travel should happen in this direction. Butterflies remember being caterpillars. During metamorphosis, their body essentially dissolves into a biological suit and reassembles as a completely different creature. And somehow, memories survive the process. They go through a biological death and rebirth and come out the other side, remembering where they used to find good leaves. Think about the fact that the average person walks about 100,000 miles in their lifetime. That's enough to walk around the earth 4 times. You're on a journey, whether you think about it or not. Every step adds up. Every day adds distance. When you close your eyes at the end of the day, you enter a state that's closer to death than waking. Your awareness dissolves. Your sense of self fades. Time becomes meaningless. And then you come back. Every morning is a tiny resurrection. Waking up is a small miracle that happens so often we forgot to be amazed by it. The oldest known jokes are over 4,000 years old. Humans have been trying to make each other laugh since the beginning of civilization. Before we figured out plumbing, we had comedy. Humor is more fundamental to human nature than indoor bathrooms. Right now, your brain is processing these words, but it's also monitoring your breathing, your temperature, your balance, the feeling of whatever surface you're lying on, background sounds, and dozens of other things. You're only aware of a fraction of what your brain is doing. Consciousness is the tip of an enormous iceberg. Think about how names work. Your parents picked a sound, attached it to you, and now you respond to it for the rest of your life. If they'd chosen a different sound, you'd respond to that one instead. Identity starts with an arbitrary choice made by people who hadn't met you yet. Gravity is the weakest of the 4 fundamental forces in the universe, and yet is the one that shapes everything you can see. Galaxies, stars, planets. The fact that you stay on the ground instead of floating away. All of that is gravity's doing. The weakest force is running the biggest show. A cloud can weigh over 1 million pounds. All that water vapor, suspended in the sky, just floating there, as if weight doesn't apply. Clouds are breaking the rules of everything you intuitively know about heavy things, and they're doing it constantly, right above your head. Every language you don't speak is a world you can't enter. There are jokes, poems, songs, and stories in languages you'll never understand. Entire emotional landscapes that exist just beyond the border of your comprehension. Learning a language is like finding a door to a room you didn't know was in your house. The cells in your stomach lining are replaced every few days because the acid would dissolve them otherwise. Your stomach is constantly destroying and rebuilding itself to avoid being digested by its own juices. It's an ongoing construction project in a war zone. Think about this. The first person to eat a lobster must have been incredibly brave or incredibly hungry. Someone looked at a giant armored sea insect with claws and said, "Yes, I'm going to try eating that." Most of our foods were discovered by people who were willing to risk everything for a snack. When 2 people lock eyes across a room, their brains synchronize slightly. Neural patterns start to mirror each other. Eye contact is literally a moment of brain-to-brain connection. No wires needed. 2 strangers can share a frequency just by looking. The total length of all the blood vessels in your body is about 60,000 miles. That's enough to wrap around the Earth more than twice. You have a highway system inside you that makes the interstate look like a side street. Think about the fact that you can recognize thousands of faces, but you probably can't draw a single one accurately from memory. Your brain stores faces in a format that's optimized for recognition, not reproduction. You know what everyone looks like, but you can't prove it with a pencil. If you lined up all the DNA in your body end to end, it would stretch from Earth to Pluto and back, 600 times over. Every cell contains a copy of your complete genetic blueprint, written in a molecule so thin you can't see it, yet so long it reaches the edge of the solar system. Right now, satellites are orbiting above you, hundreds of them, circling the Earth, looking down. Some are taking pictures. Some are bouncing signals. Some are watching the weather. There's a ring of machines around the planet, and most people never look up to think about them. A caterpillar has more muscles than a human, over 4,000 compared to our roughly 650. The thing that turns into a butterfly is actually more mechanically complex than you are, at least in terms of moving parts. Think about the paradox of choice. The more options you have, the harder it is to choose, and the less satisfied you tend to be with your choice. Too much freedom becomes its own kind of prison. Sometimes a smaller menu is a better menu. Every year, your birthday is the anniversary of the most dangerous day of your life. Being born is statistically one of the riskiest things a human ever does, and you celebrate it with cake and presents, which is a pretty good recovery story. The surface of your tongue has about 10,000 taste buds, and each one has 50 to 100 taste receptor cells. Every bite of food triggers a cascade of molecular recognition events, and your brain assembles all that data into the experience of flavor in real time. You are technically a donut. Topologically speaking, the human body is a tube with an opening at each end. Your digestive tract goes straight through you, mouth to exit. In the mathematical field of topology, you and a donut have the same shape. Think about how weird it is that we dream in narrative. Your sleeping brain doesn't just produce random images. It creates sequences, situations, characters, with motivations, and plot lines that develop over time. You're telling yourself stories in your sleep, and you don't know why. The average person spends about 2 weeks of their lifetime waiting for traffic lights to change. 2 whole weeks, standing or sitting, watching a colored circle, waiting for permission to continue with your life. Red means stop existing temporarily. There are more possible games of chess than there are atoms in the observable universe. A simple board game with 64 squares contains more complexity than the physical structure of everything that exists. The universe is big, but math is bigger. When you look at a star at night, you're looking at a nuclear explosion that's been going on for millions or billions of years. Stars are contained chaos. They burn by crushing atoms together so violently that they produce light visible from inconceivable distances, and we call them pretty. The human nose can detect over 1 trillion different scents. 1 trillion. You have a chemical detection system in the middle of your face that's more sensitive than most scientific instruments, and you mostly use it to decide whether food has gone bad. Somewhere in the world, there's a tree that's making the oxygen. You'll breathe 5 minutes from now. You don't know which tree it is. The tree doesn't know you exist, but your survival depends on a plant you've never met continuing to do its job. Think about this. The total weight of all the ants on Earth is roughly equal to the total weight of all the humans. There are so many ants that their combined mass matches ours. We just don't notice because they're small and they don't complain. Every word you've ever spoken was made possible by a coordinated effort between your lungs, your vocal cords, your tongue, your lips, your jaw, and your brain. Speaking is one of the most physically complex things humans do, and we do it so casually that we often do it while doing other things. You talk while you walk, while you cook, while you drive. Honey never spoils. Archaeologists have found pots of honey in Egyptian tombs that are over 3,000 years old and still perfectly edible. Bees figured out how to make a food that lasts longer than civilizations, and we put it on toast. Think about keys. A tiny piece of metal, cut in a specific pattern, is the only thing standing between a stranger and everything you own. Your entire sense of security depends on the complexity of a set of ridges that fits in your pocket. Locks are just metal puzzles, and keys are the answer. Somewhere in the world right now, someone is hearing their favorite song for the first time. They don't know yet that it's about to become the soundtrack to an important part of their life. It's just a song right now. In a month, it'll be a core memory. Your eyes are the same size now as they were the day you were born. They're one of the few parts of your body that don't grow. Babies don't have small eyes. They have adult eyes in a tiny face, which is part of why babies look so disproportionately alert. Think about the concept of a weekend. We collectively decided that every 7 days, most of us should stop working for 2 days. The entire planet runs on an arbitrary 7-day cycle that has nothing to do with nature or science. A week is a social invention, and we built our entire lives around it. Every elevator you've ever stood in was held up by a cable. You trusted that cable completely. You didn't ask when it was last inspected. You didn't check the weight limit. You stepped into a metal box hanging from a wire and pressed a button. That's either courage or habit, and it's hard to tell the difference. The average human body contains enough iron to make a small nail, enough sulfur to kill all the fleas on an average dog, enough carbon to make 900 pencils, enough fat to make 7 bars of soap. You are a walking collection of craft supplies. Think about how we clap to show appreciation. We smack our own hands together, repeatedly to express approval. If you described clapping to an alien without context, it would sound like a strange form of self-inflicted percussion. But we do it in concert halls and after speeches like, "It's the most natural thing in the world." A jellyfish is about 95% water. It has no brain, no heart, no bones, and no blood. And yet, it's been around for over 500 million years, which means it predates dinosaurs, trees, and fungi. Sometimes the simplest design is the most durable. You've been breathing this entire time without thinking about it. But now that I mentioned it, you're breathing manually. You're welcome. Your body was handling it perfectly fine until your conscious mind got involved and made it awkward. Think about shadows. A shadow is just the shape of you blocking light. It's a 2-dimensional outline of your 3-dimensional body, stretched or compressed depending on where the light source is. You leave a flat version of yourself everywhere you go, and it disappears the moment you move. The average person will spend about 6 months of their life waiting for red lights to turn green. 6 months. Just sitting there, watching a color, waiting for a different color. And during that time, your brain is free to think about anything it wants, which is probably why you've had some of your best ideas in traffic. When 2 people look at each other and smile, their brains release oxytocin, the same chemical that bonds mothers to newborns. A smile from a stranger triggers the same neurochemistry as familial love, just in a smaller dose. Connection is chemical, and it happens faster than thought. There are more bacteria in your mouth right now than there are people on Earth. You're carrying a population larger than humanity on your tongue alone. Your mouth is a city, and you're the landlord. And honestly, the tenants are running the place. Think about how bizarre it is that we cook food by putting it inside a box and bombarding it with invisible waves. That's a microwave. You heat food with radiation and then eat it out of a bowl while watching television. The future already happened. We just got used to it. Every candle flame you've ever watched is a continuous process of combustion. The wax melts, travels up the wick, vaporizes, and reacts with oxygen in the air. A candle is a tiny, controlled chemical reaction that we use for ambience. You put chemistry on the dinner table for mood lighting. The oldest known joke is from ancient Sumer, about 4,000 years ago, and it's a fart joke. Across all of human civilization, across every culture and era, bathroom humor has been universally funny. Some things never change because they never needed to. Think about how strange it is that we cry. Our body's response to extreme emotion is to leak salt water from our eyes. Happy, sad, frustrated, overwhelmed. The response is the same. Your tear ducts don't differentiate between emotions. They just know that something big is happening, and it's time to produce moisture. Your stomach acid is strong enough to dissolve metal. If it touched your skin, it would burn you, but your stomach lining regenerates so quickly that the acid never gets a chance to break through. Your body is running a containment operation 24 hours a day. Right now, as you listen to this, photons from your screen or from the walls around you are entering your eyes at the speed of light. Light travels at 670 million miles per hour, and it ends its journey by hitting the back of your eyeball. Your eyes are catching the fastest thing in the universe, and they do it all day without complaining. Think about how we use the word sunrise. We know the sun doesn't rise. We know the earth rotates. But we still say it because the language was built before the science. Every morning, we use a word that's technically wrong, and nobody cares because it feels right. Octopuses have 3 hearts and blue blood. 2 hearts pump blood to the gills, and 1 pumps it to the rest of the body. When an octopus swims, the main heart stops beating, which is why they prefer crawling. They literally don't have the heart for swimming. There's a concept in Japanese called mono no aware, which roughly translates to the bittersweet awareness of the impermanence of things. It's the feeling you get watching cherry blossoms fall, or finishing the last page of a good book. Some cultures name the feelings that others just silently experience. Every time you walk through a doorway, your brain partially resets your short-term memory. That's why you forget what you came for. The doorway acts as an event boundary. Your brain files the previous room as a completed chapter and opens a new one. Architecture is affecting your cognition, and you never noticed. Think about the fact that trees communicate with each other through underground fungal networks. They share nutrients, send chemical warnings about insects, and even feed their sick neighbors through root connections. The forest floor is an internet made of mushrooms. A bolt of lightning is 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. For a fraction of a second, a corridor of air reaches 50,000 degrees. Nature creates something more extreme than a star, and it's over before you can blink. Thunder is just the sound of the sky flinching. Think about the fact that you can close your eyes and instantly summon the image of someone you love. Their face appears, not perfectly, but recognizably. That image doesn't exist on any hard drive. It's stored in the electrical pattern of neurons that fire together because they fired together before. Love is, in part, a pattern that your brain refuses to delete. Right now, somewhere in the ocean, a whale is singing a song that travels for hundreds of miles through dark water. Other whales hear it and respond. They're having a conversation across distances that would take a human days to cross. And they've been doing this longer than our species has existed. Think about the fact that we put people in metal tubes, launch them through the air at 500 miles per hour, serve them tiny bags of pretzels, and call it a routine way to travel. Flying is the most extraordinary, ordinary thing we do. The Wright brothers' first flight lasted 12 seconds. Now people complain about the legroom. Your reflection in a spoon is upside down. This is because a concave surface flips the image. You've probably noticed this at some point while eating soup, and then immediately forgot about it. There are tiny physics lessons hidden in every kitchen drawer. Think about snowflakes. Every single one has a unique crystal structure because each one takes a slightly different path through the atmosphere, encountering different temperatures and humidity levels as it forms. A snowflake is a frozen diary of its journey from cloud to ground. You have a blind spot in each eye, where the optic nerve connects to the retina. There's a hole in your vision right now. Your brain fills it in so seamlessly that you never notice. You're seeing a partially fabricated version of reality, and it looks flawless. The largest living organism on Earth is not a whale or a tree. It's a honey fungus in Oregon that covers over 2,000 acres and is estimated to be thousands of years old. The biggest living thing on the planet is a mushroom, and most of it is underground where nobody can see it. Think about how we trust chairs. You sit down without checking if the chair can hold you. You don't inspect the joints. You don't calculate the load-bearing capacity. You just sit. Chairs might be the single most trusted objects in human civilization. When you blow out a candle, there's a brief moment where the smoke rises in a straight line and then dissolves into turbulence. That transition from order to chaos happens in a fraction of a second. It's one of the most complex fluid dynamics events that occurs in daily life, and you make a wish while it happens. Every highway you've ever driven on is the result of millions of decisions, from the route selection to the asphalt composition to the height of the guardrails. Engineers calculated sight lines, drainage angles, and curve radii. A road feels simple when you're on it, but it's the product of extraordinary complexity that was designed to feel unremarkable. Think about how your brain processes music in real time. It tracks melody, rhythm, harmony, timbre, and lyrics simultaneously. It predicts what comes next and feels satisfaction when the prediction is right, and surprise when it's wrong. Listening to music is one of the most neurologically complex things you do for fun. Penguins propose to each other with pebbles. A male penguin will search the entire beach for the smoothest, most perfect pebble he can find and present it to the female he wants to be with. If she accepts the pebble, they're partners. Romance is universal, even when you don't have hands. The speed of light is so fast that if you could travel at that speed, time would stop for you completely. From your perspective, you would arrive at your destination instantly, even if the journey took years from everyone else's point of view. Speed and time are connected in ways that make your head hurt. Think about the fact that we domesticated wolves. Thousands of years ago, humans and wolves started working together. And over generations, we shaped them into golden retrievers and chihuahuas, pugs. We took an apex predator and turned it into something that wears sweaters and sleeps in our beds. Your body is constantly emitting light. Not visible light, but infrared radiation. You're glowing right now, in a spectrum your eyes can't detect. If you could see infrared, every person would look like they're softly illuminated from within. You're all bioluminescent, and you just don't have the right camera to see it. Right now, there's a spot on the other side of the planet that's directly below you. If you could dig straight through the Earth, you'd come out there. That spot is called your antipodal point, and chances are it's somewhere in the middle of an ocean, because most of the Earth is water. Think about how strange it is that we sleep in special rooms. We designate one room in our house specifically for being unconscious. We decorate it. We buy special furniture for it. We control the temperature and the lighting. We've created elaborate environments optimized for doing nothing. A single teaspoon of neutron star material would weigh about 6 billion tons. The density is so extreme that a tiny amount of it would weigh more than every building on Earth combined. The universe makes things that break every intuition you have about matter. You've been listening to these thoughts for a while now. Your mind has been somewhere between awake and asleep, drifting between ideas like a boat on calm water. Some of these thoughts stuck with you. Others passed through without leaving a mark, and that's fine. When you fall asleep tonight, or maybe you're already falling asleep right now, remember that you're joining millions of other people who are also drifting off at this exact moment. All over the world, brains are powering down, bodies are going still, and consciousness is dissolving into darkness. You're all doing it together. Nobody planned it. It just happens. So let these thoughts settle like snow. Let them cover everything gently until the sharp edges are soft and the noise is muffled, and the only thing left is the quiet rhythm of your breath. In and out. In and out. The simplest thing your body does, and maybe the most important. You don't need to solve anything tonight. You don't need to remember everything. You don't need to understand the universe or your place in it. You just need to be here, breathing, resting, letting the thoughts come and go like clouds passing through an infinite sky. Good night. Sleep well, and let your mind drift